Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I'm going to call this broadcast "The Show's Over." But before I explain to you about that dream that is so very important that just came here like in the last 48 hours, first of all, let me encourage you. We have got to pray for our nation. We've got to. Look, I don't want to fast any more than you do for 48 hours. I don't want to have to take my Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off and get on my face and pray for a minute. I don't want to do that. I mean, I like my life other than that. But if we're going to keep our nation, if we're going to have any kind of life as usual, we must pray. You see, a lot of these dreams are not guarantees they're coming. Instead, I think it is, in matter of fact, many of them I'm going to be talking about today, they're not saying, this is coming, I guarantee it. I think God is saying, this is coming, I guarantee it, unless you pray. Which is why the most important thing you can do right now is to get yourself signed up. Go to the Solemn September Assembly, September 6 to 8, by going to watchmanstrumpet.com, getting signed up. I know, I understand. You got to take off 3, maybe even 4 days of work. I understand that's going to be very costly. It could cause lots of problems in lots of areas. But, brothers and sisters, it is the Feast of Trumpets. The Feast of Trumpets is the Feast of the Gentiles. That's the feast that the tribulation starts on. 7 years later, 2,560 days later, that's the feast that Jesus returns on. It is not a feast for the Jews. It is a feast for the Gentiles. And it is the day that I believe we must fast and pray. Because that's, again, the Feast of Trumpets. What does that mean? When we blow a trumpet, that is a sign of war. It's declaring war. And that's what we're doing at the Solemn September Assembly, September 6 to 8. We are declaring war. Yes, I know it's at sundown, Monday evening. That means you got to take off work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But you can fly back home Wednesday evening. You can be back to work Thursday. But nevertheless, I understand it's going to, there's a cost. There's a cost to pay. We've only got 55 people signed up. We need more like 500 people there, not 50. And so it's extremely important that if you're coming, go to watchmanstrumpet.com now, today. Get signed up and let us know, because we've got to make some plans on where we're going to hold it. If we have to move it to a smaller venue, how many people we have to know. We got to make plans. So go to watchmanstrumpet.com, get signed up. All right, now to the broadcast today. You know, the Bible says in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. What I'm about to read for you is a collection of several dreams, all coming to people I believe are really hearing from God, and they're all essentially saying the same thing, and that is there's about to be some hard times in America like we've never had before. I do not think it is a guarantee that they're going to come. I think it's a guarantee that God doesn't want them to come. He wants us to fast and pray and turn it away. And I believe we can. But if we don't fast and pray, and I think this time yes, we're going to live stream it, but I don't think that's going to be near as effective. I can tell you right out front, I don't think that's near as, look, you got to bring your shofar. We got to lock arms. We got to blow that shofar 7 times, declaring war against the devil. 7/24/21. All of these are this year. This comes to us from David Phillips. He works part-time with Prophecy Club. I dreamed we were eating at a restaurant with friends. Everyone was having a good time. The waitress said they accidentally gave us the wrong menu, saying some things should be costing more. But since it was their mistake, they would honor the prices on the menu, so we're getting better prices. She also then began to say some of the items they were out of, like chocolate and some other things, and it was beginning to annoy our guests at the table. The staff was working hard to try to please and to keep the business running. About that time, we began to watch a movie showing on the outside of the restaurant. Halfway through it, all of a sudden, it abruptly turned off. I mean, everything went dark. The restaurant announced that they were closing right now, as in immediately, as in get up, stand up, and walk out right now. Everyone had to get up and walk out right then. And they announced that they would be closed for 6 months. That put everybody in a panic. They were all in shock. But we all stood to our feet, gathered our belongings, our loved ones, and walked out. What's that saying? It's saying that there's going to be an abrupt change. First, we'll see a supply. We'll see a disruption of supplies. Well, have we already seen that? Yes, we have. It's saying our finances are going to stop immediately, stand up, and walk out right now. So it's saying we're going to see some shortages. Now let's go to 7/15/2021, Coverstone. The dream started with a sunny sky and Wall Street in the background. Everything was clean and proper and businesslike. I saw normally dressed people on the sidewalk standing behind about 6 to 8 foot long white tables. Behind the tables were live chickens, a fenced-in area for horses, racks of eggs, tools, various meat and food vendors. There were also customers lined up buying and trading and bartering. I saw a man walk up with 5 12-gauge shotgun shells in his hands and traded them for 10 small chickens. A lady walked up and traded 5 hammers for 15 boxes of screws and bolts. A gentleman in a very expensive suit took off his Rolex watch and traded it for 15 horses. The man trading the horses said it was actually worth probably 30 horses instead. There were no, now here, this is real important here, okay? There were no vehicles on the roads, but plenty of people riding bikes, skateboards, and everyone was treating each other with respect and kindness. Now, why were there no vehicles on the roads? I think that is probably because the suitcase nukes went off. Look, that is the Samson option. You remember Samson pulled down the pillars and killed all the prophets of Dagon. So I believe that the Moloch and the Baal worshippers read their Bible, probably better than a lot of Christians, and they understand that there is a time, from time to time, that God will destroy them. So they have set up, you might say, a dead switch. If they're starting to be killed, if they're starting to be rounded up, they're going to set off the suitcase nukes. And I believe we determined that from another source there was 35 of them. 35 of these 1 kiloton suitcase nukes secreted all across America. And as you recall, we had Jason Meeks that had a dream that so specifically there was one in Lubbock, Fort Worth, and Dallas. And there's other cities too. It's covered that in other broadcasts. We don't want to get into that today. But the point is, when a nuke goes off, if your vehicle is not protected from an EMP pulse, it fries every computer chip in your vehicle and it will never restart. That is, unless you replace, I guess, the majority of the computer chips in your car. I assume it would have to be totally rewired. I don't know. But the problem is, that's the reason we don't, a lot of these visions, we don't see any vehicles on the roads. A lot of them, they're stopped. Why? Suitcase nukes. Fried all the computer chips. Now, yes, there is hope. You can go to empshield.com, put in the promo code PROPHECY. It helps your prophecy club. I got one for my car, got one for my house. And that way, if I'm out someplace, one of these suitcase nukes goes off, my car is going to start. All the other cars around me, they won't start. It's also going to see that my computers and things like that in my house, refrigerators, all still work in the house because it blocks the EMP pulse, which is like 2 milliseconds long. But it fries the computer chips and kills them. empshield.com. empshield.com, code word prophecy. All right, so back to the dream. This is Coverstone again. He says there were no vehicles on the roads, but plenty of people riding bikes and skateboards. Everyone was treating each other with respect and kindness. A lady walked up and she seemed frustrated and she needed eggs desperately, but had nothing to trade for them. Another lady grabbed 10 eggs, handed them to her, and she began to cry and hugged the lady back for the gift. Now I'm skipping several paragraphs here. Then the man that I see unfurled an umbrella and stood under it to shield himself from the rain that was not pouring on the ground. Now, here's the point. You are not as prepared as you need to be. So hearken to my word and brace. Don't barter with my word, as you will come up short. Every one of us needs to prepare more. Every one of us needs to get prepared. It's saying this is coming. How many times we heard him say brace, or brace, brace, or brace, brace, brace? And then it says, don't barter with my word. I think that means don't cut corners, tell the people the truth. A lot of people have been emailing me saying, okay, so what's the shotgun start? That is going to start in 15 days. And that was supposed to start July 22nd, 2021. I believe it has, but I believe it's like one of those things that's over the hill. It's happened. You might say the tsunami's heading our way. It just hadn't hit our shoreline yet. I believe it's saying these things are now in the process of going. I'm not going to give you the website on this one because this guy's a new ager and I don't want to give him any credit at all. However, He does have some inside sources from time to time, so I'm going to read these two things from him. He says there is a growing likelihood that some form of supply disruption is coming next week or the week following that week. I have never believed in the so-called, quote, 10 days of darkness. I do believe in 10 days of disruption. Well, that's another confirmation. You see, one of the first things that David Phillips saw is that there would begin to be shortages. And then all of a sudden, the show just stopped. The next thing he says is, have you had a letter from your credit card company recently? From October the 15th, credit card companies will move the interest way down from the standard 17.5 to 22.5% down all the way down to 1%. Well, now, okay, but is that another thing that things are changing? Yep. If that happens, you can know that the QFS system is now in place and it is now all being set up. Well, could that have to do with our finances? Absolutely. Now I'm going to play an audio for you from Mike Adams. He says that 137 nations have agreed to simultaneously reject the USD, the US dollar, which is going to happen before the end of 2021. He says that the earlier crises happened in 1997 and 2008 were handled. But he says the catchphrase then was too big to fail. But the niche catchphrase is going to be too big to bail, as in too big to bail out. So here it is, just a short minute or so. Mike Adams.
I was contacted by a person, well, someone I've known for many years, who has a source that gave him a piece of information I'm going to pass along to you. I don't know if this information is accurate or not. I don't know. But they said there's 137 countries, I think, that have all agreed to ditch the US dollar all on one day coming. Should this happen, the dollar would literally collapse overnight in the same way the old former Soviet Union suffered a collapse on its national debt. You would wake up one morning and there would be no functioning financial system in the United States or even much of the world for that matter. The dollar would be worthless and the federal government would be unable to create new money, just to keep printing trillions of dollars that have any value, because no one would be buying the debt. But apparently there's a day coming, and they told me this day is this year, this calendar year. Again, I can't vouch for that, but they said a day is coming. You're going to wake up, the dollar is denounced essentially by 137 countries, and the dollar dominance of the world is over.
Now let's go to another David Phillips dream. I read this a couple of months ago. March 2021, I had a dream my family and I were on a small vacation, like a camping trip. While on the trip, rampant inflation started, like nothing we'd ever seen or heard of before. All of a sudden, it was like we were living in the Old West. We stopped in one area and one person was selling food. He was selling crackers, like Ritz crackers, but he was selling them individually and wanted $1,000 per cracker. The main thing that people wanted was food. People had no such money, so they would trade what items they did have for food. People became very dangerous during this time. Out of desperation, many families would work together to try to survive. People would steal anything they could to get their hands on, even out in the open, and were willing to risk extreme danger just to do it. Everything became valuable. Everything. Old belts were given to people as gifts when they worked at places. All of a sudden, they were being traded for food. Because these things could no longer be purchased at all, while on this trip, it was important for us to try to keep any meats as frozen as possible to preserve their life. But absolutes and things such as food safety were no longer critical anymore. The single most important item was food supplies, especially non-refrigerated foods. Now let's jump to January 3, 2021. All of these are this year. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, remember. This is Prophet Leslie Johnson. I saw a lot of people who represented the church. They were in an amusement park. Everything was fun. But they started getting very, very hungry. All of the restaurants and the food availability was gone. They were not able to get food at this amusement park, so they were leaving in droves. But when they left without their shoes. They were all barefoot and very hungry. They were all looking for food, begging for even one piece of bread to give them. They were searching for something. They were searching for the one who could feed them. Now, let's jump to Jason Meeks, 5/11/2021. All of these this year. Stan and I and 20 other people were in the back of a grocery store. The group walked from the back into the main store to purchase some Tang, which should have cost about $1, but the price was now $5.99. We saw all the prices of goods on the shelf were at least 30 to 40% higher than last week. We bought the item and headed back into the back, but instead of the shelves being full of stock and merchandise, they were all cleaned out. There were pallets of goods shrink-wrapped on racks. Those had all been removed. It looked like a flea market. People had their food protected by 2x4 boards and chicken wire. Not to keep things locked up as anyone could easily break into their individual sections, but more to keep each person's goods separated. There were crackers. Notice that, crackers, second dream here with crackers. There were crackers, odd canned goods, non-perishable food items, all kinds of random items, all new. One man was selling goods at super high prices, not trying to cheat people, just trying to help his family survive. This was his only job, just reselling items he had recently purchased to try to make a little profit. July 2021 CBS News. Headline, Debt Ceiling Deadline. The U.S. government will run out of cash to pay its bills at some point this fall, likely in October or November, if no action is taken, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office announced Wednesday. This comes as the debate over raising or suspending the debt limit is breaking down on Capitol Hill. If lawmakers do not address this issue, the U.S. will be unable to pay its obligations fully, leading to delaying payments, defaulting on its debt obligations, or both, the report warns. The debt limit suspension expires on July 31st after it was suspended for 2 years under President Trump in 2019. The debt ceiling was previously $22 trillion, but as of the end of June, an additional $6.5 trillion had been borrowed, bringing the total amount of debt subject to the debt limit to $28.5 trillion. Now, let me remind you, Daniel Davis, remember he had that dream, came and spoke, made a DVD for us back in October 2012 called I Saw the Dollar Dead. He said, I saw a man who looked like a government official appeared on big screens and began to make an announcement. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. America, as you have known it, has ceased to exist. All property lines have been dissolved, and the U.S. dollar is worthless. When the people heard this announcement, they began to panic. I'll read that again. America, as you have known it, has ceased to exist. In other words, the old all-capital United States of America on the back of our $1 bills, that corporation has gone. It was actually gone as of November the 5th of 2020. And they're setting up a new republic called the Republic of the United States. So that part's good. All property lines have been dissolved. That's, in my opinion, and also based upon what finalwakeupcall.info says, that we're coming into a new quantum financial system. And that quantum financial system is going to redo everything. And the U.S. dollar is worthless. I'll read it again. America, as you have known it, has ceased to exist. All property lines have been dissolved, and the U.S. dollar is worthless. Now, are you tying this together? Do you remember the shotgun start in 15 days, which would have been July the 22nd of 2021? It's saying this has started. Now, the tsunami has started. It just hasn't hit our shores yet. Let me go on and remind you, Pastor Shane warned July 10, 2012, in the DVD, also available at watchprophecyclub.com, called Storm, Judgment, and Revival, also available at watchprophecyclub.com. He says, I saw a vision of the future. A hurricane, meaning a financial storm, hit all across America. A news reporter reached down and picked up a fistful of dollars and said, it's raining dollar bills. They're worthless. They're worthless, blowing in the wind, worthless as leaves. Then the scene changed. The anchor said, the New Madrid Fault has just had a major earthquake. Devastation was all over the heart of America. I heard a booming voice speak from behind me saying, they have divided my land. Now I will divide their land. Okay, that ties back to what Leslie was told about Omar ushers in Palestinian state. Catastrophe hits America, one of America's times of need. Israel refuses help to America. Israel is attacked. America sends troops Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. Then she heard my voice quoting Dimitri Dudam, and the fall of America would start with an internal revolution. Back to what it's saying. They divided my land. Now I divide their land. In the vision, I knew that it was speaking about Israel, specifically Jerusalem. The scene changed. I was taken to a room in the Middle East, and I was shown India, Syria, Indonesia, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, Russia, and China discussing how to devalue the dollar of America by trading oil and gold, collapsing the dollar. I saw drastic drops in the value of the dollar. The devaluing of the dollar caused major rioting in the streets. I saw silver, not gold, begin to drastically increase in value. Now, let me throw in a little plug for our sponsor here. That is, if you're thinking about getting some kind of precious metal, gold or silver or something like that, we send you to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. And if you say Prophecy Club when you call, it helps your Prophecy Club. And frankly, right now, during the slow summertime with us trying to get this Solemn September Assembly started, that would be very helpful. At the same time, I saw the church arise with healing in the wings for this moment. I saw God prospering greatly many people, acquiring things and a transfer of wealth. That's straight out of Proverbs 13:22. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just, which I believe has to do with all of this big financial change. Yes, some people are going to go into a financial collapse, but apparently there's also going to be a wealth transfer coming to the hands of believers, he says. Churches became cities of refuge. Cities, not countrysides, not mountain areas. Churches became cities of refuge. The body of Christ stood up like a mighty sleeping giant in the earth and began to minister. People were coming to them. Signs, wonders, and miracles were poured out all over America. I saw America being shaken as the worldly could no longer go to the government for help. They had to go to the church for help. Entire cities became cities of refuge. There was life, safety, peace, and the presence of God in the cities. People were running to the cities. Revival had arrived. It was a two-sided coin. Oh, listen to this. This is what the Lord told me. As the judgment hit, so did God's miracle revivals. As great inflation caused an economic storm, great revival arrived. God will raise up his church. Now, could it be that the Solemn September Assembly, September 6 to 8, could it be that people that have gathered to fast for 48 hours, gathered under one name, Jesus, to do one thing, pray for America, could it be that when we blow the trumpet, or sometime that weekend, all of a sudden the mighty rushing wind will come in and the sevenfold miracles will start? You remember I told you August 8th, 2015, Saturday night, Lord, I don't have anything to say for the sermon tomorrow morning. What do you want to say? And I heard words. This is the time of miracles. As the judgment hits, so will my miracles. Miracles like no one has seen, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. You tell them, I will never leave them nor forsake them. I will meet the devil inch for inch, step for step, pound for pound. Everything he does, I'm going to meet him. I want to be a part of that. If you want to be a part of that, you want to be there. We never know when the great miracle revival, that great Spirit of God is going to show up. July 24th, 2021. Headline, Russia exasperated with ongoing Israel attacks against Syria. Russia has run out of patience with Israel in Syria and is shifting its policies toward Israeli sorties over the country, according to an unconfirmed report on Saturday. So, we're seeing that Russia and Israel are getting close to having some kind of a problem. Next headline, July 23rd, 2021. Video, Russia test fires the S-500 at the Yar missile range. Russia has released video of its test firing of the new S-500 missile system. It is awesome. The S-500 is said to be the absolute finest air defense system anywhere on planet Earth. The S-500 Prometoi, also known as 55R-6M, is a Russian surface-to-air missile anti-ballistic missile system intended to replace this other system, which I'll skip. It goes on to say it is super fast, super accurate, and cannot be shot down. Now, why does that tie together? It all ties together because it could mean, my brothers and sisters, if we don't gather together right now, if we don't gather together for this Solemn September Assembly, it could very well be that the suitcase nukes go off, the dollar collapses, there's a great earthquake, and that all ties into all of the prophecies. All of a sudden, Russia attacks, and America is gone. If it is going to be, it is up to me. You and I have to make this happen. Look, how many other ministries will even talk about this stuff? You know, we're the only ones pretty much. How many other people would possibly gather and take 3 or 4 days of their work to gather together to pray? Who would do that? Who would do that? Well, they're going to come up with all kinds of excuses. You know, the boss won't let me off. I don't have the money. Okay, well, wait a minute. If we really believe in God, if we really believe that he can supply all our needs according to his riches and glory, then we pray and we ask. So I'll pray and ask, Lord, touch the hearts of the people right now that you want to be there. You touch their hearts. You speak to their hearts. And then those people that you spoke to their heart, have them to be obedient, and then provide the finances, the days off, the ways, the means to get there to the Solemn September Assembly, September 6 to 8. Go to watchmanstrumpet.com and get signed up in Jesus' name. Watchmanstrumpet.com. Watchmanstrumpet.com. Be sure and bring your shofar, because we're going to spend 48 hours fasting and praying on our face before God, and we are going to touch the throne of heaven. So in summary, the dreams are saying the show's over, that there is about to be a major, major financial change. And according to Coverstone, the angel talked to him, no one is ready. We're not ready. So if you need to get ready, let me give you some places to start. EMPshield.com, promo word prophecy. EMPshield.com, promo word prophecy. If you need food, and you better have it, heavensharvest.com, promo word stan. heavensharvest.com, promo word stan. If you need some kind of precious metals, cornerstoneassetmetals.com, just say Prophecy Club. cornerstoneassetmetals.com, Prophecy Club. So, EMPshield.com, prophecy, heavensharvest.com, stan, cornerstoneassetmetals.com, Prophecy Club. If you cannot leave your home for 1 year, do you have food, water, air? Do you have everything you need to survive in your home for a year? The Lord told Leslie, no one can provide for every eventuality, but we should provide to the degree that we can financially provide. We should prepare. I'll say it again. We should prepare. Bartering. We were also told that the shotgun starts July 22nd, 2021, meaning this has probably started in the background. And then we have the other guy that comes up and said that there's going to be shortages in the next week or two. Also, that there's about to be a financial change in your credit card interest all the way down to perhaps as low as 1%. Then another guy comes on and says 137 nations plan to stop using the USD before the end of the year. Then we have David Phillips saw that there's going to be inflation, $1,000 for a Ritz cracker. Leslie saw Christians having to leave an amusement park barefoot. Jason Meeks saw things get 30 to 40% higher per week. Even CBS News said the debt ceiling deadline is sometime in October or November. The music is going to stop, you might say. Daniel Davis was told, America as you have known it has ceased to exist. All property lines have been dissolved. The U.S. dollar is worthless. Shane Warren said that he saw the vision of dollar bills blowing in the wind, worthless as leaves. An earthquake down the center of the United States. Several countries beginning to sell oil for gold, and then he saw the church arise with healing in their wings. Russia is exasperated with the ongoing Israeli attacks in Syria, meaning that Russia and Israel could be going to war, and of course that's what Leslie was told would be the start of the fall of America there with that war. We also see that Russia has test-fired a new missile that they say can't be shot down. Put that all together, and all of a sudden, it could very well mean that the end of America is very close, unless we pray. Solemn September Assembly, September 6 to 8. Go to watchmanstrumpet.com. Lord, send them the money, the days off to be able to come. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com is owned by a prophecy student who reads his King James Bible and supports Prophecy Club. Call CornerstoneAssetMetals.com for gold, silver, palladium, rhodium bars, or coins. They can help you roll over your IRA, 401k, so tell CornerstoneAssetMetals.com Prophecy Club sent you.
We would not be here without your prayers and generous financial support.
Click like, share, subscribe, and send to a friend.